expressed on this program are not those of intellectualradio.com, its subsidiaries, or sponsors. Encouraging, educating, and empowering you into action. This is Warriors Talk with your host, Lady Reshell.
Hello, welcome to Warriors Talk with author and founder Lady Reshell, where we move away from awareness towards action. Our topic for today is Trust Your Dopeness. We are live on Intellectual Radio. We just heard from the Drive F5 with Roman. Keep it locked right here on Intellectual Radio and allow us to feed your brain. On the last episode of Warriors Talk, I spoke about men and how they can take charge of their health. Go over to YouTube, type in Intellectual Radio, stay connected for any episodes you may have missed. The quote of the day is, reading is to the mind what exercise is to the body. We are grateful for our sponsor. We have Pastor Michael Richardson with the Emanuel C.O.G.I.C, who has a special message for us.
Greetings, I am Pastor Michael Richardson.
And I am First Lady Anastasia Richardson from the Emanuel Church of God in Christ. We're located at 3058 West Van Buren in Chicago, Illinois. We are building upon a solid foundation.
And we're inviting you to join us every Sunday morning on Facebook Live at Emanuel C.O.G.I.C at 10:15 Central Standard Time. And you can also view our videos on our YouTube channel at Emanuel C.O.G.I.C-MR. Once again, this is Pastor Michael Richardson
and First Lady Anastasia Richardson, and we're from the Emanuel Church of God in Christ. We are building upon a solid foundation.
Here are your trending topics for today. According to CNN News, the day that remade America was decades in the making. The Supreme Court's overturning of a woman's right to have an abortion on Friday was a legal, political, and societal thunderbolt that merits the overused word of heroic, because it will change the life in multiple ways, many still unknown. Abortion is a deeply personal issue for many Americans that involve choices about when life begins and an individual right to make a decision about their own body. It becomes a sensitive and divisive political issue when it comes to questions of whether and how government can dictate these moral and legal questions and what the Constitution permits. Anti-abortion activists are celebrating not just potentially millions of future pregnancies that will come to term, but a profound turn in the country's policies as well, which will change what it means to live in America for men as well as women. Those are your trending topics for today. If you are tuned in on any form of social media, please like the show, share the show, invite someone else in on the show that you feel may benefit from this valuable information. My special guest is the founder and executive director of Burst Into Books. She affirms Burst Into Books as an organization that is rooted in instilling our children with the essential tools to grow academically. A lifelong learner, she has taught professionally since 2008, working with grades K through 12. She is committed to creating a safe place for all children to engage with text and dialogue, which is remarkably needed in our community. Welcome to Warriors Talk, Jureme Gorham. Hello, Jureme.
Hi, how are you?
Okay, I can't hear you. Hello, Jureme.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing? Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm excited. I am so excited to hear your journey and your experiences and how it led you to education and Birth to Books. Did I leave out anything, Jureme, that you want everybody to know about you?
No, I think just as we continue to talk, I'm sure more will come out. So no.
Awesome. Hello, Sir Walter. Thank you for joining us. Hey, Lisa. Hey, Whit. Thank you for sharing, Whit. I appreciate it. You guys share the show. Invite somebody else in, especially if they have children. Invite them into the show. So I want to dive right in, Jureme. I want to talk about how you started in education.
Wow. So I have always loved working with children and just working with just families. When I was in high school, I did a number of different jobs like tutoring. And at first, I knew I wanted to work with children. I thought I wanted to be a pediatrician. And then I went to school and did some medical work. And I, again, like I said, I was able to have an opportunity with tutoring. And I just fell in love with being able to help children to understand concepts and things that may have been challenging when they were in the classroom. And so it drew me into that. That's the way I'm supposed to work with the youth, because I was able to see the creativity you could do with it and just all the different ways I could try to connect their everyday to the learning. I just started to pursue that more, and I have not stopped. I love it.
Wow, you said as a teenager?
Yeah, so we were given an opportunity at my high school to do a summer job where we helped support schools who were teaching summer school. And it was my junior year of high school. I remember that. And it was really, really cool because again, it was going into my senior year. So right away going to my senior year, I'm like, okay, I'm majoring in education. I know what I want to do.
Mm.
Yeah, so it was in high school. Hi, Lisa. I see you. Lisa said hi.
I think this is why, Jureme, it's important for us as parents to expose our kids to a lot of different things and encourage them. Because a lot of times they may say no. Like I have daughters at home and I try to get them to get on different sports. You never know if you're gonna like it, join
Yep.
different clubs. I have an 8th grader that just graduated and I told her, dominate your 8th grade year. Jurema, she played basketball, volleyball. She was in the musical. She was on the fishing club. She was in the Spanish club. Like
Yep.
she did cheerleading. I told her, do it. And she had fun. She called me one day and she was crying like, I don't want to go into this cheerleading. They doing too much and it's too hard. She was crying. I said, wipe your tears and go, because you're never going to know until you try it. Yep. So I agree with exposing kids to different things so that they can find their passion and their purpose like you did at a teenager, because there's no age limit on when you can find passion or your purpose.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, you sound like my mom. She allowed me and my brother to do that. Like if we wanted to do tap dance, we wanted to play softball, we wanted to do, whatever. And eventually, like you said, I knew I wanted to work with children, but being able to work in different ways with the youth helped me to be like, oh, I want to do it this way, right? And so if I didn't have those opportunities to try out different sports or different activities, I wouldn't even be able to see how, yeah, I love this piece, but how can I continue to grow from it? And I think a lot of times that, even me now being a mother, it's like, okay, again, something's going to stick, right? So we have to just continually allow them to have those opportunities, because again, it's about them really just finding their voice, right? Where do I feel like this is what I was created to do? So I definitely am all about that as well.
Yes, and then you won't have to drag them out the house to do it. They'll beat you to the door with the keys, like, come on, Mom, let's go. I'm ready. I don't want to be late.
Exactly.
How do you feel about just having different settings of education for a child that's beyond those 4 walls?
I mean, I'm all about it. My belief is that we are always learning, right? And so even as a traditionally trained teacher, I don't believe that education starts and ends with me, right? So kids come to me with experiences in life and their own experiences and lessons they've learned that they can add to a classroom, and I do the same. And when they leave me, I will always tell them, it's so important that we understand that everything you're learning in class, if you don't see the relevance outside the classroom, it doesn't stick, right? It doesn't seem applicable. Like the math doesn't matter, the science doesn't matter, the reading doesn't matter, unless I start seeing that these are actually life skills. This isn't just for the A, B, and C or whatever grade or pass, fail, or graduation. It's really about, I'm going to have to use this. It's like adding to my tool belt, right? So I might not necessarily need to know how to round right now, right? But when I'm in the store, that skill is going to come into hand like, oh man, okay. Oh, how much do I got to be round up? Can I afford it? So it's just important. I think that as educators and also as parents, we understand that the learning doesn't stop just when they're in the classroom. And then also as educators, it's important that we show them that their world is teaching them, right? Not just what's in that textbook, because a lot of times it can seem like for kids, I'm only learning this for the test, but they know, no, you're learning this for life, because at some point you're going to need to have a reference to what you need to do next.
Did you feel, Jureme, like you were doing a lot, or do you feel parents had like a hands-on with their kids to where they were actually doing their part at home? So when the kid got to school, your job is pretty much easy because the parent is, like you said, it doesn't just stop in the classroom. When they get home, they have homework. Somebody has to help them.
Yeah, and I think that participation when it comes to parent involvement is really connected to even how they were raised, right? And so a lot of times when I would, talk to parents and it came to like how do we support your child, for some of them, maybe they just didn't have the skills on how to support because growing up they really didn't have anybody supporting them, right? Or it's just a matter of just definitely things have changed in education. So just being able to feel like you have a safe space at school to say, can you help me help my child? Right? Because again, things are different as far as approaches to how you learn things. The concepts are the same, but a lot of the approaches to math and even some reading things, right? Like different strategies have changed over time. So I definitely had parents who were involved. I also had parents who weren't, right? And so I think that that's where it's so important that we understand that it takes a whole ecosystem to help this child raise, be their best self, right? To raise them.
Mhm.
So I had children who maybe their parents weren't involved, but within the school they got like a play mom, right? They really latched on to a counselor, or they latched on to me as a support system, and just being able to help them understand that in life that may be the case, right? It may be the case that the person you were looking for that support from may not have within them to be there for you, but you have people in your village who can really still pour into you and help you. And a lot of times, like I said, I don't ever believe parents don't love their children or don't want to be there. A lot of times it comes with their own experiences and them being able to get the support they need so they actually can be the best for their child.
That's true, because sometimes this new math that they be doing, I'm like, no, that's not how we did it, right? And then I break it down.
Even me with my son, I'm like, look, just multiply, just carry the one.
Right.
Why are we doing all these extra boxes
Yes.
for the tens and the hundreds? Just
Exactly. I'm like, I don't know what y'all doing. We did. It was so much easier when we did. It seemed like it was so much easier when we did it. Lisa said you're doing an awesome job. So what you're doing is awesome.
Thank you.
I totally agree, because it is not easy dealing with children and trying to get them to do something that may not be traditional. We know school is traditional, and then you're putting them in a different setting, to say, hey, now I want you to do this. So it can be, you got to have patience. It takes a special type of person to really work with kids and to help, bring out their passions in them and let them know, no, you're not stupid. It's just that, this is the way you do it. Try it a different way. You just have to have patience with them. Lisa said that new math is the devil. It is. You are not kidding.
It definitely could seem more challenging for no reason. But I think to your point, and I've learned over time that everything goes back to relationships. And so for me, I have been blessed in my career of working with children that I really have great relationships with my students. And I early on learned that it really is about children feeling like their voices are being heard and that they have a space where it's safe to make mistakes, right? And also that I have the opportunity to show that maybe I understand it differently, right? Maybe I didn't get the answer the same way you taught it, but if we still arrive to the same thing, let's talk about it. Let's see how you got to that. And so I think a big part of working with the youth, and especially, there is a change. Like I say, I've been teaching for 14 years, and I can say that, but when I started in 2008 to now in 2022, children are different, right? And it's not even just necessarily, we can feel as if maybe I've heard a lot of like negative comments to that, like to children being different. But what I will say is what's the same is that children want to be heard and they want to feel as if they have a relationship with you, and that what you're teaching them, you're not doing it out of obligation. You're not doing it just because you have to. You're also not doing it just because you're older than me. You're doing it because you really care about my well-being. And I think the more over the years that I've just continued to build relationships, the more I get to know you, like even me and you, like the more I get to know you, the best I know how to love you, the best way I know how to talk to you. I know how to make things make sense to you, right? I'll understand like, I can tell she does better if you give her visuals. Let me just do more of that, right? Like the more you get to know somebody, you really know how to teach them and talk to them. And so a lot of times there's frictions in classrooms because people talk at children and talk at the youth and not listen and make it a reciprocal thing. Like they're trying to understand you as you're trying to understand them. And so I think you can actually teach anybody anything the more you know them.
Love it. Lisa said yes, and they need to be heard and understood.
Yep.
Because they're going to let you know.
Yes.
You are not hearing me. That's not what I said. That's not what I meant. So speaking about having a different setting as far as education, you created your brainchild, Birth into Books. And when you think about books, like right now with social media and everything that's going on, like I would think people would be shying away from books, but that's totally different with your organization. So tell us about your brainchild and how it came to be.
Yeah, so it started really with me being a mother myself and my son. I grew up in Auburn Gresham neighborhood of Chicago. And when I first had my son, we actually lived out in the south suburbs. And so a lot of the resources for him were just at my fingertips. So just being able to go to the local library and go on to story times and a lot of neighborhood events and things of that nature. And again, I was born and raised in Auburn Gresham. And so around the time he was, I would say 1.5, 2, I moved back home, right? I moved back with my father. And it seemed like overnight, literally, like the access to things became so much more challenging, right? If I wanted to take him to something that was linked to literacy or something cultural, I had to go outside of my neighborhood. I had to go to Hyde Park. I had to go to Lincoln Park. We're going into even, and it may seem close, but I'm going to Beverly. I'm going to all these different spaces, but nothing is within Auburn Gresham. Yet I'm born and raised here. And I know plenty of families, and I know plenty of educators who want these things for their children, but it's not in their neighborhood. And a lot of people weren't bringing it to our neighborhood. And so just one day, a conversation with some other moms, we just started to brainstorm of like, okay, what can we do here, right? Like, what can we do in our space? And the idea of a book club came up. And so I've always been an avid reader and loved reading. And that excited me to create a book club. And so from that moment, I started to just kind of put out there filters. Hey, who would be interested in being a part of a book club? I was going to make a book club for my son. At this time, he's around 6 and 5 years old. His friends are. And I'm like, okay, we'll start a book club. And literally, I made a Facebook post and we got so many responses. Like people like, I'll be interested. Let me know, when you do it. And I started to reach out to other educator friends that I had to help me with this book club. And they were all hands on deck. And I started to also think about, okay, back to your point, there is this like getting their attention from technology and all these different things. And so I'm like, okay, what really makes reading fun is when it comes to life, when you feel like you're a part of the story or you understand more of the story. And so I said, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we had a book club where we actually had like authors that the kids can meet, right? Because you can see the name on the front, but if you hear their story and why they wrote that book and how the book came to be, you're like, oh, wow, that's a little bit more interesting. I want to pick it up. Now that I know this person, I want to read the book. I want to learn more about it. And so from day one, I was like, we're going to always have guest authors. And so on top of having guest authors, I thought about, again, the access to books. I'm like, I would love to also have an opportunity for families to come and get books to build their home libraries. And so I started to find out about donations we could get and different people who had books that they were trying to retire that they would want to give us. And so we would do that. And then I also wanted to be a community space. I didn't want it to be a drop-off center. I didn't want it to be something that you brought your kid and you left. I wanted parents and everyone to be together because, again, from teaching, I understood children key in more when they see that their parents care about it too. Like, right, the kids who parents who were involved in activities and they knew would be coming to the field trips and all of that, they're more engaged in school because they're like, this is a space my family cares about. And so in turn, I was able to have parents be involved in the book clubs as well. And so it started from that. So my intention wasn't like, I'm about to start this nonprofit. I just was like, I want to have a space for my son along with his friends. And it grew to become more than that. And then we became, in 2019, we became a nonprofit. And from there, I'm like, oh, we should do events. So we should do, And it just grew and grew and grew to where we are now. And I'm so grateful for it because I'll end with this. One of my mentors, she talks about we get good ideas and then we have a God idea, right? And I believe Burst Into Books was my God idea. Like God gave me that because I was in my mind like, oh, I just want to do a book club. And he's like, you'll see that this is actually more than that. And so when I tell people that story, like I didn't go into it like, oh, I'm about to be this nonprofit leader. I really, like God was like a book club. And from that, the seed has just continued to grow. So I'm just really grateful.
Wow. Kenya said the problem is we talk at them and we don't talk to them. That's so true. It's true. And it goes back to that thing where you said just because you're older than them, it doesn't mean that you know a lot, but you have to find a different way to communicate with them and meet them where they are. Mylea says literacy is important. I'm an avid reader and writer. So glad to hear about your journey to create a book club.
Thank you. Yes, yes.
Yeah, she said your organization is a godsend.
Amen. This is so cool. Look at us building village over here, right?
Yes, I'm excited. I'm excited about Birth Into Books because I know that Mylea is an avid reader, and I can remember like books it'll bring people when you're going through a certain situation. Some people turn to books, and like you said, they can imagine themselves being in that world. Wit, who's on here, Wit Devereaux, her first book that came out, I read her book and I felt like I was a part of her story. She talked about her dad, she talked about the guy she was in love with, and I just felt like I was there. So like even when her father passed, I felt like, oh, like I know him from the book because the way she told the story, it made me felt like I was a part of that story. Yeah. So I agree with you want to feel like, even when you like watch movies, you want to imagine you in that world and you get, you just get lost in that world. Books it'll take you a long way because just seeing my daughter right now, she just started her own publishing company. She's about to release her second book, and this is all due to literacy. Yeah. And it didn't come from me. This is something she picked up on her own. Like, you just never know. Just take them to the library. I took them to the library a lot, and they probably was like, why are we here? And I was really there doing my thing because I was in school, but they were there, and it's like, let's check out some books. Let's get some books. And you just never know if it's going to rub off on them. So,
and to your point, I believe books allow people to become empathetic to one another, and it's a good conversation starter. So having the book club in many cases, which what I talk about is like creating safe spaces, right? So we're reading a story, and by us reading this book together, we're experiencing the same thing together. Now we can have dialogue about it. And it may be something that you lived, or maybe I don't know anything about it, but based on what I read. And so we've had, my kids, we read all different types of books, and I'm really big about like culturally relevant text. So stories that looks like them, but then also over time, everyone who's in my book club is not a person of color. However, it's been very beneficial for them to be in that space because one, they're able to have dialogue in a safe space. So we're able to read things about race and about family and about history that you may not hear in school. But now if I have questions, we can talk about it because you read it too. So now what did you think about it? And you know what? The main character was down south. We've had kids who moved from Chicago, from down south to Chicago. And they're like, that is how it was when I lived in Tennessee, right? So they're able to share their experiences and add to the space. And so I think it's important that we understand books are a way that connects community. And it allows us to have dialogue and to have shared experiences, whether or not I lived it or not. And I can have a little bit more of an understanding as to what the world looks like through your eyes because I read this book. Again, back to Whit's book about, domestic violence, it's an unnecessary topic, right? And sometimes it's a topic that people feel uncomfortable with. But if we read a book about it, now it gives us like an easy bridge to have that necessary conversation in a space for people to share what they're feeling. So yeah, and that's so cool about your daughter and her publishing company. Congratulations.
I'm so excited for her. What are some of the ways, Jureme, that you had to be creative to keep the kids, engaged in the book club or just reading period, especially like on their own when they're not in that setting?
Yeah, so we had to, one thing that we do back to the relationships, like learning our children, like learning what they're interested in, right? And so a lot of times our very first book club, they don't have a book that they come with. We literally just building culture. We're building community. The teachers learning who they are, what their likes, what their dislikes are. And so ways we keep them engaged is that we'll try to find books again that are relevant to today, right? So I'm hearing their stories and what their experiences are. And so we're reading stories in which they're like, oh, I can see myself in this, or I can feel this. Or if there is, for instance, there was a play, because we also try to show them that storytelling is not just in a book. Music is storytelling, plays are storytelling, movies are storytelling, art is storytelling. And so we also do our due diligence to see like what's happening in the city. So the same time our kids were reading a book, there was a play also coming out about it. And so we were encouraging our families, and we actually got some tickets to take them to that play. So the kids could see it, like read it, but then now we're going to see it on stage. And so when we have book club, now we can discuss what do we like. Well, actually, they didn't do that part. I wish they did that part from the book, right? So, or to let them know there's movies that are with the book. And I think other ways that we've gotten them to be creative is actually using the things that they like. So we have for like our middle school and high schoolers, we actually use the things they're into, like TikTok and YouTube. Like, give me a book review, make it a TikTok. Like, give me thumbs up, thumbs down using the TikTok, and you'll be amazed at how it's just another way of reporting what I thought. And they love it, right? Because it's a medium that they already are doing. But now I'm not saying put TikTok away and read your book. I'm saying after you read the book, make me a TikTok about the book. Mm-hmm. And they're able to show it and share it. And so it's been really cool. I think a lot of times the things that we are saying are distractions, we have to find a way to marry them. Because our kids, I mean, it's the world we live in. The world is moving into a more technological state. So, I mean, books are not, archaic, like they are just going away, but we have to find a way that they complement each other, and not that technology is the devil and books are what's good. How do we put them together? So that's what we really try to do. Find ways, like we, even for our older kids, going into the fall, we're going to start a podcast, right? And have them opportunity to like interview each other and talk about, you just got to be creative in how they're able to share what they understood. It doesn't have to always just be written.
Have you found any barriers with access to maybe your organization or any type of issues that the kids have trying to be a part of it?
Yeah, so one of the barriers, and a lot of times is sometimes, so the last 2 years, we were virtual because of just everything with pandemic and safety of health and all of those. And so that was in some ways a benefit because more kids were able to participate who lived in other states or maybe lived on other sides of town. But then my kids, some of them struggle with access to the internet, right? And they want to be a part of it, but where they're at, they don't have internet, or it's choppy and we can't really hear them. And, it's insecurities that come with that. And so that was one thing where it does make things more accessible to be online, but it also could be an additional barrier, especially when you may have multiple people in the home trying to use the Wi-Fi. So it's lagging. And so that was a barrier for us. Also, the barrier sometimes is access to the books. And so we make sure that we in the donations we get, and even the books we purchase, we always have copies on hand. So there were times when parents knew, and it's, we try to make sure that they understand, like, we're a village, like we're here to help each other. So we will let them know, like, local libraries nearby that had it on hold, so you can just get it for free. Or if you're in the Roseland community, in the Plymouth community, just let us know, come by the building. We got a copy you can have, right? So I think just getting that access to the books. At first, it also was somewhat of a hindrance, just being able to travel, right? Because when we were in person, sometimes, some of my families are on buses, some of them are Uber, and some of them don't have access to cars. And so I'm always very mindful of that when we're doing events as well, trying to make it as centralized as possible. But yeah, I would just say everyday things. And then something that people don't always connect with literacy is like food. Like, our babies struggle a lot with like access to just healthy, nutritious, well-kept food, right? And so we 2 years ago came up with the idea of like, we should do a farmer's market, right? And it's a way for us to be able to give people books, but also give them access to high quality produce and vegetables. And so we're actually starting next month, our second year with the farmers market. But again, like if kids are malnourished, if they're hungry, if they don't have access to like fresh vegetables, like even in my neighborhood of Roseland, there's no grocery stores. Families are grocery shopping at Dollar Tree. Walmart don't have the best produce. You know what I'm saying? There's no grocery stores in our area. And so just being able to give them access to those things matters as well. So you live on 108th in Michigan? Oh my gosh. So my building, we need to connect, is on 110th in Michigan. We are currently in the process of renovation. Our farmers market will be there starting July 10th. So yes, we definitely should connect. We are looking to have the building open and functioning by late fall, so around like October. But yeah, we're right on 110th in Michigan.
Kenya said she would like to come and help with the farmers market.
Please, we need volunteers. And yes, we do donate. So if you go to our website, which is www.birthsintobooks.org, there is a place where you can donate books. There's also our email and phone number. So email us, contact us, and we will definitely connect. We are always looking for volunteers, and we definitely need volunteers for the farmers market.
Awesome. Whit says, awesome. Love seeing the connection.
Me too, Whit, right? And I love Whit.
You just never know. You never know what's going to happen. Yeah. Do you feel, Jureme, like something is missing when it comes to the literary world for individuals who participate in the programs?
I believe what is missing, which is something we're working on, is them being able to become published writers themselves, right? I think that I'm excited when I learn of programs that allow kids to write their stories and get published and all of that. But then two things come into play. If the programs I know that are free, they're not in their neighborhoods. You have to travel to get there. Or if it's a program, they have to pay, right? And so it's just like, do I have the funds to do that? And so that is something that we are actually going to start incorporating in our org. We're working with a few different organizations to see how we could be able to do it without it being a burden financially for families, because a lot of times that's it, like the finances and then also getting there. So I think that that's something. I think that if we listen to our babies, they are so creative. They have so many stories. They're poets, they're writers. And a lot of times it's like, they don't have a studio in their neighborhood. They don't have a publishing company in their neighborhood. They don't have, in school we'll complain about their writing, but they also don't have any extracurriculars that can help them with writing. So I think that is one of the biggest thing I think kids lack, is just the opportunities. I know the library, they have their U Media studios, and all of those, again, are not in every neighborhood. So some kids just don't have access to the things to help them be able to get better at their craft.
Whit says she loves you too. I'm going to read this quote. It says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. It's an African proverb. What comes to mind when you hear that?
The importance of those who do this work to work in collaboration and not in silos. I think, and I actually talk to Whit about this all the time, I feel like what has helped Burst Into Books is that I'm so about community and working in partnership with aligned people. Like if we have the same vision and the same goals for our communities, and especially if we're in the same neighborhood, then why are we not doing events together, right? Like, why am I not sending kids to your program and you're sending kids to my program? Why, if I get a grant, why are we not writing the grant together? Why? It's just, I think a lot of times in this space of, and it's a lot of factors that go into it, because money can be scarce. So you can feel like, if I do share, am I going to get it, whatever. But I'm a big believer in that what is for me is for me. And I believe in those divine connections. And a lot of times by me doing partnerships with different orgs, that's why I'm able to increase access for my families, right? Because I'm open to partnering with different organizations. We can have more giveaways, or we can have more books, or we can have, I'm not into health services, but I partner a lot with the Blue Door in our neighborhood with Blue Cross and Blue Shield. So they're able to do like free screenings for the families. And they're able to give them access to dental screenings for school and all of that. I can't do that. But because I have a relationship, I can bring them to the event, right? I'm not a mentorship program, but I know many boy and men and girls organizations who do mentorship. So like when we do our festival, for example, we're going to have a whole resource area where mom and dad, I want you to do my program, but you also probably need a mentor for your son. There's an organization right there. You know, you they might need some new glasses here. Roseland Hospital, this is what they do. You know, I think it's just important that we do our work in collaboration versus families have to travel here and travel there and travel there to get stuff done. And I think that proverb is so true. We go further because when we work as a whole collective, we just have more energy, more power, more access versus us trying to do everything on our own in the name of ourselves, you know?
You got me at energy when you say energy, because when you try to do everything yourself, you know, sometimes it takes the fun out of the, you know, the passion that you have to do it because you're trying to do everything yourself. So I totally agree with that. Lisa said, let's do it together. Why not?
Let's do it together. I mean, even to the point with Lisa, and we're going to collaborate. So she has an amazing documentary that's about young boys. I work a lot with schools and with the youth. And again, we've already talked about when my building open, I want to do a screening. Again, that's working together. Using her film is going to be a conversation for my families, for our young boys. But again, I don't have to try to create a film. I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? But if I know people who do that work, why not work with them? And not only is she supported and helping my family, but I can support her work as well. So I just think it's important that we keep our eyes and our ears open to who else is doing work. And if it works, it works. Work together, you know?
Absolutely. Kenya said one mission, one goal. She also said collaboration is key. It really is. Lisa says, I'm working on an event and thought about you earlier, added you to my resource list. There you go. See?
I love it. I love it.
Never know. You just never know what person or organization that's out there that can help lighten your load when it comes to your mission and your vision, whatever it is that you're trying to do. You don't have to do it by yourself. So we're going to take a quick break. I just want to recognize my sponsor. Her name is Paula Kelly with Allstate, and she is a Black business owner. She's located at 327 East Glenwood Lansing Road in Glenwood, Illinois. And she can be reached at 708-758-3300. Make sure you tell her that Warriors Talk sent you. And if you are just joining us, we are live on Intellectual Radio with the founder and executive director, Jureme Gorham. And she's dropping a bunch of gems. If I tried to pick one out, the one that really stuck with me, what you just said, was the energy. And sometimes we get burned out quick because we're trying to do everything ourselves. So Jureme, what have you done to not get burned out with everything that you have going on? Because you wear a lot of hats.
I do. And to your point, it's easy to get burnt out. And I think that the one thing is that I'm learning is just understanding that if I'm not here, I can't do the work. So I am learning to go to bed. I'm learning to drink water. I'm learning to try to eat better. I'm learning to also the power of no, because there are always opportunities. There's always, the needs are never what's lacking. There's always needs. And it's just a matter of understanding what your role is supposed to be in meeting that need. And then again, to your point, working together, it allows me to not have to constantly have something on my brain, but I have a shared responsibility with others. And so I've just learned that, they talk about, entrepreneurship, not just in nonprofits, but also in doing your own LLC, that many people don't make it past the 5-year mark. And I understand because it's a lot of work. It's not easy, and you are and especially in the early stages, you're the marketer, you're the promoter, you're the planner, you're the financial, you're the fundraiser, you're doing everything. And if you don't learn the power of a team and working with others, you're going to get burnt out because, of course, it's easier to just go somewhere and check in and be done and do your job and leave. And so I think that it's always going to be needs. And so, but you have to feel. My one friend put me in check. She told me, because I was, I couldn't go to the gym. I had to work on this. And she said, Jureme, you should be your number one project. You should be your number one project. Because if your project fails, everything else fails. So as much as you go hard for others, and I think a lot of us in this work, we're servants, right? Like, I don't want to see kids go without and families go without, but also it's important that we understand sustainability. And sustainability means saying no when you really can't do it, and understanding that you have to take time, you have to take breaks, and you have to be okay with, I can't make it to every event. I can make it to the one, I can't make it to three, right? So yeah, I think just monitoring your health, all those things are priority, and knowing that, the power of no,
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Self-care is so underrated, but we need to take it seriously. Kenya said in the business, you got to know who your point guard is and who your quarterback is.
Yes. I think also you got to understand that in this work, just like in anything, I'm not the master and guru of all things, right? And so the way, for instance, me and Whit are connected is because her lane, which she's amazing in, is PR and really helping folks in getting their message out. And it will just, could I take the time to learn it and do it? Of course, right? But also, that's not the lane, and that's not what fuels me, right? What fuels me is working with people and programming and teaching. And so let me be in my lane and let me pull people, which that's their lane, and let's do it together. And so I think that's so true. You have to know what you lack on your team. And then when you get people on your team, let them shine, let them do their thing, right? Don't micromanage, because what's the point of them being on the team if you ain't gonna let them work? You know what I mean? So I think just all of that. You got to know what you need, and you also got to understand where your strengths and weaknesses are.
That's true. Lisa says self-care is a priority. I totally agree. Kenya says you financially spend a lot of your own money. Girl, I can testify to
That's in
you.
the beginning. I mean, even with the book clubs, for example. In the book clubs, I talked about wanting to do these different things, but I also wanted our kids to have snacks. I wanted to make sure we had, traveling and gas and all of that. And we didn't have finances. And so I'm using my money. I'm going to the stores. I'm packing the books. I've got it in my trunk, in my garage. And so a lot of times it is true. Like in the beginning, you have to understand some of the sacrifices, but it's important that you along the way are gaining the skills and learning what you need to know so you can get financially back, because it's not sustainable.
Yeah, agreed. Lisa said, Whit is the bomb.
He is.
Whit says, thank you, Lisa. She appreciate that. I want to talk about, and Whit posted it. Let me see if I can go back to it. She's excited about the Lit Fest that's coming up. And I want to make sure that we talk about this. So if people are interested in any type of way, if it's not too late for them to support and help, I want them to make sure they have the information and know where to go.
Yes, so the WOW, which stands for Words of Wonder Literary Festival, will be on July 30th at the newly named Dr. Conrad Worley Track and Field Stadium, which is also Gately Park. So right on 102nd in Cottage Grove. It's going to be and will continue to be the biggest literary festival on the South Side. We have a whole youth and family area where we're going to have interactive activities, storytelling, drumming, dance, read alouds. We're going to have a whole resource area, health and wellness, local businesses and schools in the area, on-site dental, on-site vision tests, on-site blood pressure, all those different things in one site. But we're also going to have writing and illustrating workshops, where we have writing workshops that start from as young as first grade all the way to adults. So again, being able to share and help people learn how to tell their stories. And everyone who's leading the workshop are published authors themselves. And so they're going to be sharing like the tips and we got a workshop for 1st to 5th grade. We got a middle school, we got a high school, we got an adult one. We also have a renowned illustrator who's going to be doing illustration workshops with people who are trying to do storytelling in that way. We have giveaways. Our author for the for the festival is Jacqueline Woodson, who's a really big children's author out of New York. We're going to have live performances from different poets and dance groups, the Jessie Black Tumblers. We have, live DJ. It's going to be really, really exciting. And for me, I believe that literary festivals should be synonymous with fun, right? It shouldn't be quiet. And we're not going to the library. We're coming to celebrate. And I want kids to see themselves. I want them to see comics. I want them to see poets. I want them to see all these different ways of storytelling, dance, so they can be able to be excited about doing it themselves. And so it's July 30th. Opportunities to be involved. We need volunteers if you want to volunteer. We also have opportunities if you want to, of course, bring your whole family. It's for the entire family. So if you go to our website under events, you'll see the literary festival. Sign up on Eventbrite. It is free. We'll have food trucks for food. So it's literally going to be an all-day event from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. And I'm so excited. We have an all-star team of people helping us put it together. And it's going to be an annual thing. We're going to do it every single year. So the first year, I want to start off with a bang, and we're just going to get better and better each year. So that's what we're doing.
I know my daughter Mylea is like, how can I get to this event? Because this is like right up her alley, just all of the things that you mentioned. I think this is awesome. I think it's long overdue for something like this, because sometimes we think the only way we so stuck in doing things one way, and you never know when you open up somebody's mind to different things, different ways of doing it. Just not reading the book, but you could do a dance and hear a story, you could do a poetry and hear a story, you could sing a song and you can get a story from that. That really draws kids in, just knowing that they have different ways of doing it. It's just not one way. Okay, you throw the book at them, okay, read the book. No, you gotta meet the kids where they are.
And I was very intentional about where this festival was, because it could have been anywhere in the city. And back to my earlier point, many of the book fairs that I've been to or festivals are either in Hyde Park, Printers Row downtown, you have it on the north side and all these different areas, but you are never going to hear about it being in Pullman or Roseland. And I believe that the neighborhood itself is so rich with history, so rich with community and love, and just being able to have it there, I feel like it's so important. And also to have an event with the caliber that I'm bringing into it. Like, I want you to come and you have access. Like, you're talking to these authors that are on the main stages at different places. No, they're on 102nd and Cottage Grove. Like, come over here, meet them, get access to them. You're actually getting a workshop with an illustrator. Like, we're paying for them. Like, we have sponsors and people can still sponsor, but I'm paying for you to have access with pretty much all these children's books you're reading. He's the illustrator. He's about to teach you how to do that, right? I think it's important that our kids are able to get the best. Like, they should have access to the best. And like you said, a lot of times our kids don't even know that they have a skill, they have a talent, because they never even had access to paint or to these different tools. And who knows? Like, he might be acting up because for however long he's never done something he likes. And now I actually like creative writing. Maybe that's something I'm gonna continue to do, but giving them an opportunity to go to a workshop, and you never know what spark is gonna be lit from that experience. So that's my hope.
I love it. Kenya says, nope, you're doing it right where the issues lies. They need to be right in that area. I totally agree with you. The Facebook user says, hello, ladies, jumping in and out, but just wanted to tell Jureme, I'm very proud of you, ma'am.
Oh, thank you. I don't know who you are. I'll see you later. But I appreciate you.
Give us some words of wisdom about trusting your dopeness.
So when you ask me my quote, like, it is legit my screensaver. I look at it every single day because I, for a long time, did not trust that I was enough. I mean, to be very simple, even in the way I talk, the way I think about the world, like, I didn't, Tennille, hey Tennille. But even with, wanting to be a business, I'm sometimes we're scared to take chances, right? And take risks. And we can envision, like, to be a business owner, to run something, you got to be this way or you got to be that way. And I really got to a point in my life where I'm like, no, I'm created perfectly, right? For what I'm supposed to do on this earth. And who I am, the things I love, and the skills I possess are exactly what's needed to do this work. And so whenever I'm putting together a program or, thinking about an idea or wanting to start, like even with the farmers market, I don't know any idea about farmers market. I don't know the first thing about how to start, but I know that there needs to happen, and I'm gonna figure it out. And I have to just trust myself that the universe, God, people are gonna bring me what I need, and he's done just that. And so I think a lot of times, and every time I do it, God just validates that. See, I'm with you. Just trust yourself. Like, trust me and trust you. Right? You have enough. No, you don't speak like her, because guess what? To do this work, you need to speak like you. Right? You need to do it your way. You need to create your way. And so whenever I'm meeting people who are like, oh, I want to start a nonprofit, or oh, I want to do this in the work, I'm like, cool. Like, I'm really interested in your story, because guess what? What created you and your story is what's going to make that thing work. Like, trust that you're going to do it the way you're supposed to do it. You know what? Even if you did the same type of organization, it's not going to be the same, because it's you. Do what you're supposed to do. So I think a lot of times we doubt ourselves. And because of that, many people die never fulfilling dreams that they wanted to do, because they didn't think they were good enough to do it. Right. And so I'm just trying to live in a way that I trust me. And whenever I have doubts, I go back to that, like, trust your dopeness. You got it.
Lisa said you have shown up and showing out. She loved what you're doing and the impact that you're having on so many. Keep rocking your dopeness.
Oh, thank you.
And then Whit says, God is faithful.
He is. He is.
Yes, that he is. Whit says she's seen his hand all over burst into books. Yes. I mean, God will, every time you feel like, I'm giving up on this, I'm not going to do this, he'll send somebody your way. And like you said, he'll reassure you, no, this is what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So I totally agree with you when you said, do it your way. You're not going to do it like anybody else. I am excited that you came to share your story. Really quickly, can you tell them where the event is going to be held and how they can support it and follow you?
Yes. So if you go to www.burstintobooks.org, you can join our mailing list. And if you join that mailing list, you will always get updates on what we're doing and upcoming events and programs. But our event is on July 30th, which is a Saturday, from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. And again, it is at the Dr. Conrad Worley Track and Field Center at Gately Park, which is on 102nd and Cottage Grove. If you go to our website, you can click events, and underneath you'll see Wild Lit Fest. You can register to be a guest. You can also register to sponsor. You also can come and volunteer. And it's going to be an amazing, amazing time. I would just invite you and your community to come out and enjoy an hour or two or the day with us, and just continue to stay connected. Whoever was online, who lives in the neighborhood, I would love to connect with you, because I think it just matters that we are working with people in their communities. And then when we're trying to develop more stuff in the Roseland area, it'll be helpful to have people who are in it. I live in West Pullman. I live right, in the same neighborhood. And so I think what helps us when it comes to our programming is that we're speaking to the people we're serving. So I want to be able to have conversation. And if it's something you dreamt to see in your neighborhood, if I have access to do it, I would love to talk to you and see how we can do it. So
awesome. What says sponsors?
Yes, you are. Because guess what? Something free to you is not free to us. Okay. So definitely it helps us support. And it also allows us to have what we need to continue doing it. Right. And again, I believe that it's important that we're able to have, authors as well. We have authors. We are going to have an authors area, but I also have authors who are just like want to be in the space. I just think it's important for, if you are a author for children, that you're around children, you're able to talk to families and share about your work. And like I said, for our book club, we always have guest authors. So even if it's not the Lit Fest you can be a part of, you can be a part of other things that we do throughout the year.
Thank you so much, Jureme. I appreciate it. Continue to trust your dopeness.
Thank you. You too. And then is today your birthday?
Tomorrow.
Okay, because I saw on your page someone said, I was like, she's talking to me on her birthday. Oh my gosh. So happy early birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to highlight my closing sponsor, who is Gloria Dotson with Mary Kay. She's catering to all of your beauty needs from head to toe. Go over to her website, marykay.com/GDOTSON for some exciting new products. Join me next Monday at 6 p.m. right here on Intellectual Radio. I'll leave you with these words of wisdom. Reading without reflecting is like eating without digesting. As always, thank you for tuning in to Warriors Talk with author and founder Lady Reshell, where we are changing lives one warrior at a time.
Thank you for listening to this week's edition of Warriors Talk with Lady Reshell. To find out more about Warriors Talk, follow at Warriors Talk, the number 1, on all social media outlets, and Warriors Talk with Lady Reshell on YouTube. Please join us next week and every Monday evening at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on intellectualradio.com for Warriors Talk with Lady Reshell, where we encourage, educate, and empower you into action.